It is 2 o'clock, and I think we have everyone here. So I will call the meeting to order. Before we get started with roll call, I would like to just take a minute and thank the staff. I see we have a lot of people on the line here. I know this has been a trying period. I appreciate the consideration, the flexibility, and the patience that you've all have shown over the last few weeks, and we'll have to for the next several weeks as well. Especially like to thank the management teams, as well as the children's and young adult teams who've been working at trying to continue as many of our services as we possibly can during this period. So thank you. I appreciate it. I know our communities appreciate it, and I'm sure I speak for the rest of the board with that as well. So with that, I'd like to have the roll call, please.
Mr. Buteri? Did anyone hear him? I'm not seeing him on my visuals.
I didn't hear him. Wait a minute. I don't see him.
I don't see him
him
either.
on.
Okay, so nobody saw. I didn't see him either. Mr. Mackey?
I don't see him either.
He
I
was
thought
here.
he was on.
No, his name isn't showing up and his photo isn't showing up.
Yeah, he dropped a little while ago.
Yeah, I don't see him back on. I just scrolled through.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay, I'll change it if he comes back.
Hey, it's Rick. Hey, it's Rick for just a second. I'm going to mute myself and try to call both Jeff and Frank and see if we can assist them.
Okay,
Okay, I'll be right back.
so should I continue with roll call, Nick?
Yes, please.
Mr. Monin?
Here.
Mrs. Petruccio?
Here.
Mrs. Polachek?
Here.
Mrs. Roach is here. Mrs. Rosium?
Here.
Does anyone know if Tricia is on?
I'm here.
Oh, I'm not seeing you either.
I'm not doing the video, just the voice.
Just the voice. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I see Jeff maybe back on, but with no video.
I see his name just came up too.
Okay, well, we'll give them another minute before we proceed.
Okie doke.
It's a good thing we're not trying to sing.
Kind of neat to get an inside look at people's homes.
Agenda.
I know. I logged in earlier to see what was showing that I didn't want to show it. See that laundry basket right there? Actually, not laundry. I'm working on a big blanket and I'm crocheting a blanket, and so it's easier to dump it. So before it was really in view. Here, not there. So I moved it where I thought was out of the way, but it still shows a little bit.
That's okay. The rest of the room is clean.
Yeah, well, there's nobody that lives here but me and Rich, so it's not hard to keep it clean. No kids,
All
no
right,
grandkids.
We do have a quorum, so we'll move forward, and hopefully Jeff and Frank can join us.
Hang on one second, Nick. Hey, Tricia,
Yes,
as far as all the people in attendance, I wrote down a bunch of names, but I'm not sure if all these people's names who are up here are in attendance. It's a lot.
I know, I'm writing them down.
Oh, I was going to say, can you screenshot them or?
You know, when I do the minutes, I'm not gonna list everyone.
Okay,
So
Okay.
I'm just writing them down for my records. So you don't need to do that.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
This is Rick. I'm working with Jeff to get him on, so he should be on, I hope, momentarily. But I don't know if I heard Nick say he wants to get started, so I just wanted to, if we're down to number 3, changes to the agenda, Mr. President.
Yes.
We don't have any changes to the agenda in its most recent form. I do want to thank everybody for their flexibility. We did make an amendment after consultation with Nick this morning to change the April 30th date in the resolution, which we had put together earlier this week before Governor DeWine had announced his closure or stay-at-home order extending through May 1st. So we are now, so the resolution is now harmonized with the governor's instructions of May 1st. The only other thing that I wanted to say was that we are holding this meeting pursuant to the temporary amendments to the Sunshine Law that the Ohio legislature passed a couple of weeks ago that allows public bodies to hold meetings via teleconference or phone conference. It was House Bill 197 was the original bill number. I think it's also gotten a Senate bill number potentially, but we are doing this pursuant to the authority that's granted by the Ohio General Assembly and signed by the governor. We are also doing our best, and this is our first time obviously doing this, so I want to thank Trish and Biagio for helping us figure this out. We are recording it as well through Zoom, so we will be posting the recording of the meeting on the website and getting it out through social media. So we feel like we're in full compliance with the temporary changes to the Ohio Sunshine Law. So if there aren't any questions on that, I'm going to mute myself and try to finish helping Jeff get on, and then I'll be back.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Do we have any public comment? Okay, hearing none. Can we move to the public closure update?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk a little bit here. You know, it's you know, a few weeks into this, it's been very fast moving, and I think we've adapted and we continue to adapt by providing as much service as we can virtually, since we've not been in a position to work in the buildings. And one thing, just a few things that we've been doing, and Carol will tell you a little more about this in a moment with collection development. We have been continuing to build our collections as much as possible. We can't go in the libraries, but we can buy order materials through our vendors. So our selectors have been doing that. Selectors who normally work in the 4 libraries. Lori, Kazat, and Carol have been doing a fabulous job keeping our news about our services going on through the social media channels. We've been continuing to issue library cards. Deb has been doing a lot of this by promoting sign up for e-cards. You know, typically we get regular library cards, we can check out books, but our e-cards allow access to our online resources. And the recent figure I heard was close to 80 new cards within a couple of weeks. Typically within a month, we'll get 150 to 220 or so regular cards, you know, just so this is a pretty strong sign up for library cards within a week or two. Those of us in the office, we've been working on a lot of paperwork that we have to do. I finished the state report that I do every year. Got that out last week. Interesting thing there is that it reflects a strong use of our digital resources, continues to climb our circulation of ebooks. and continued use of databases stronger than ever. We're working on reopening plans. Each of our 4 managers has submitted recommendations for reopening. Like last week, we thought we might be reopening next week. It looks like it's going to be another month. But we're working on putting together plans that'll allow us to bring materials back into the building in a safe way and get our workers back up gradually in steps. One thing that's come up through questions about 3D printing. We have a 3D printer at Eastlake, and Amy Winter and Marianne over there have been working on getting that up and running so we can get some things out to the public, like handles for opening doors without having to touch door handles. So we got some cool stuff that's going to be coming out from our 3D printing over at Eastlake. Colleen, I see, is about where Michael Brady would be there. She's been keeping up with the B2B, the staff newsletter, and the communications with our applicants. We've had to put a couple of hiring processes on hold. So we'll be back in touch with applicants once we reopen in another month. Oh, and I should also mention our virtual services, and Sarah could talk a little bit more about this. Our children's departments have been at work from home, providing story times online. You see Sarah there, and Bryn too, our young adult service, our young adult librarian over at normally at Willoughby-Eastlake. She's been providing her basement writers group, which is a really cool program. We're doing it virtually now. So I'll hand it over to Sarah and to Carol if you have anything else you'd like to add.
Well,
You want to go?
Oh, go. Okay. I'll
Go
just
first, Carol.
jump into some of our updating you on where we stand with our digital collection, the usage. I have monthly usage for March, which obviously March changed dramatically the last 2 weeks because of closure. But at this point for March, what we've really seen is an increase in new users. In Overdrive, it's gone up 65%, 124% in Canopy, and 60% in Hoopla. So we are getting the word out, and this is kind of giving the extra push to people to jump on and try our digital services. The checkouts in Overdrive haven't gone up that much. It's about 8%, but I think Overdrive being one of our longest running programs, and our readers are there. Canopy and Hoopla, it's more for the movies, which is what is increasing. Checkouts doubled in Canopy and went up 37% in Hoopla. That's for the month of March. So, and it is, when I checked Hoopla and the formats, it's the movies that are going up, and a lot of it is the kids. We're getting more kids users in Hoopla. It is interesting that our costs at this point so far have not gone up as dramatically as the usage, but some of that is due to help from Overdrive, where some of the publishers are helping libraries out by providing, instead of having to buy a book for a 2-year metered usage, they're making it available at half the cost for 1 year, which is helpful because it gets us over, hopefully, this closure period when we're going to have higher usage and we can buy more books and keep them a shorter amount of time, but it kind of helps us at this logjam time. Also, Overdrive and CleanNet together have created a Lucky Day collection, which is basically like our fast favorites in print, where they can't be placed on hold. You see them, you grab them, you read them, and then they drop back. And these are really big, popular titles. So that's helping our numbers. And then Hoopla and Canopy both have created some collections that are credit-free. They not only don't count toward the maximum checkouts that patrons are allowed to have every month, but also they do not charge us. So if a patron checks it out, it's a bonus checkout for them, and it also does not cost the library, which these platforms are both based on usage. So a reminder that the physical collection is actually closed. No holds can be placed. I'm continuing to publish like the typical new books coming out this month. It's going to be on the website. People can make lists in their library accounts, but they can't place the holds yet. So we anticipate perhaps a flood of holds backlog as people come in with their lists when we do reopen. I'm currently continuing to monitor the holds in overdrive and purchasing carts weekly to try to reduce the wait times for people, promoting our digital resources on social media. I have updated the website with a page that's called we247.org. It's /from-home, and it's called While the Building is Closed, Our Digital Library from Home. And this gives them, is like a one-stop page that lists all the different digital resources we have, of the big ones, Overdrive, Canopy, Hoopla, and how to get them and how to do some troubleshooting.
Carol,
And then
what was that again? What was that again?
It's the we247.org, and it's /from-home.
Thank you.
So if you go to also to our homepage, if you look down in the library news, I think it is, you'll see the caption "While the building's closed," and you can click on that.
Okay, thank you.
And then also just responding, we're getting a lot of promotions from vendors and other agencies that are opening up their subscription resources. The big one being Ancestry, that any Ohio library card can plug right into the library edition. And then also something I'm working on, we're not there yet, but Baker and Taylor offers Press Reader for 2 months free, which would mean that our WePo patrons could have digital access to the News Herald. So Press Reader has a lot of worldwide newspapers. It doesn't have the Times or Wall Street Journal, but it does have the News Herald, and it has the Columbus Dispatch, and it has the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. So we're getting there. We've gotten some of the IP addresses they need, and I'll be publicizing that when it becomes available. I think that's where we stand right now with the digital collection.
So as far as the kids, the children's librarians in Bryn, we've been working on getting video content out on the website or on our Facebook page and our YouTube account. There are a lot of really amazing resources being shared by authors and illustrators themselves, but I felt like it's really important for our families to be able to see a familiar face. So we're trying to get as many of us as possible to at least have one video to just say hi and share a story, just so that they have a familiar face. And I know a lot of you have been following along on that. We've had some really great response and feedback from patrons just saying hi, especially yesterday with Miss Rachel. They just loved to talk to Miss Rachel. It was very funny to see all the comments on her posts. So it's a great way for us to connect to our families that way. So we're continuing that, and right now my plan is to have a new video every evening at 6:30, because we've had so many people, had so many staff actually submit me things, and my husband taught me how to use iMovie, so now I can edit everything and get some fancier graphics and stuff on there. So it looks kind of professional as much as I can make it with like no experience at all. But so we're working on that, and then we have a lot of other ideas besides just reading stories. Amy Winter has been talking to me about possibly doing a cookie decorating demonstration, and I know that the adult staff is also working on, well, at least Carol and Jack are working on some video reference or video tools for the YouTube page to be shared on Facebook as well. So we're looking at a lot of different options. I think that one thing to keep in mind is that people are trying to a certain extent, stay away from social media a little bit. So it ebbs and flows how many people we have viewing things. But I think it's really worthwhile, and I think that especially the children's staff are having fun with it. I know Sarah Silba is very much keeping busy by sending me not millions, just a couple, but she has lots of ideas for different videos, and propping up her selfie stick in interesting ways to take videos of herself. So I'm really proud of everybody. They're working really hard.
Yeah, just to jump on that, thanks for mentioning that. Jack and I are working on potential book discussion for adults, and also a couple of movie discussions using our Hoopla and Canopy resources.
Okay, thank you.
I think, this is Rick. I think Jeff has been able to join us. Jeff, we can see you. It still shows that your microphone is muted, but I think you joined by phone.
Yeah, I'm on by phone.
Good. That's good. And so I did get an email from Frank that he's having challenges joining the meeting. So he just asked us to update him after it was over, asked me to update him after it was over. So I will do that. And then we'll work to make sure that the next time we do this, he's able to join us. I just wanted to do a couple additions to the public closure briefings. Our facilities are in good shape. Tom Johnson has been stopping by every couple of days to empty book drops and to check on the situation inside each library. We've turned down the heat a bit, so we're not running the heater and hopefully saving a little bit of money. So at this point, our facilities are secure. Eric, Vicki, and I continue to work on and off, and me more off than on out of City Hall. City Hall is down to sort of skeleton staffing, but it is still open for us to use. We have been doing, as have some other libraries, some reopening planning for the glorious day when we'll be able to reopen the doors. And I heard a quote this morning on the radio that said, the day after is not going to be just like the day before. So we are really thinking through the fact that when we reopen, there's probably going to be a couple of, maybe as many as 2 or 3 days where we will be open for staff to come in and begin to catch up before we open to the public. So we're going to obviously get slammed pretty hard with return materials. And we do need to figure out a way to segregate those materials, and Carol and Tom and others have been thinking through how we can do that so that we can make sure that we're being as safe as we possibly can, both for staff and for patrons. Each building management team is doing a building reopening process for their particular library, and then those of us in admin are sort of overlaying the stuff that we'll need to do both at City Hall as well as across the board. There's a bunch of things outside of Weeple that have to restart at the same time, like delivery and other things through CleveNet. And so I'm sure there will be a lot of coordination that will have to go on behind the scenes with CleveNet in order to make all that machine turn on again somewhat thoughtfully. I am hoping that there'll be a consistency of reopening plans among libraries so that we can do things that don't overwhelm any single library. And we'll be obviously following the guidance from the Ohio Library Council, as well as chatting often with what our fellow or neighboring public libraries are doing. What I've been seeing, and I know we're all on, or lots of us are on listservs from other libraries, or are getting emails from the particular libraries in the communities in which we live. It looks like almost every library that I've seen is either staying closed through May 1st of 2020 to comply with the governor's order, or are saying they're going to be closed until further notice or indefinitely. So Vicki and Eric and I made the decision to use a date certain that coincides with the governor's order in order to be able to continue to have the board, the Weeple board, regularly monitor this. The last thing that I would say, just on cooperation and working with other organizations, we were able, through Tom's work, to give our old Willoughby book drop to the city of Eastlake, which is using that for drop-offs for their finance departments. And then Sue Rosium had asked if we had extra hotspots to reach out to the gentleman at the Mentor Public Schools who's coordinating their, I think, digital outreach to families. And so Sue, I have emailed back and forth with Dr. Clavin the last couple of days. And we think we probably have a half dozen or maybe as many as 10 hotspots that we could lend to the Mentor Public Schools. Sarah Vargo has reached out to her contact at the Willoughby-Eastlake Public Schools just to confirm that they don't need any of our hotspots, and they have confirmed that they don't. So we should be able to share some with the Mentor Public Schools.
Thank you.
So that's I think that's our public closure update, members of the board, and we'd be happy to answer any questions before we move on to the fiscal officer report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
I'm good.
Okay, fiscal officer's report then.
Hi, everybody. So for what I provided you today was, first off, that we have received our first half of the personal property tax, which was nice to get dumped into our account. That was encouraging. The other part of it, I highlighted that revenue part. I know everybody's probably going to be concerned or is concerned about what our reduction in revenue is. Just what I'm talking about is the operations, which is our copiers, our fines, our passports, photos. I separated that out, and about the average that we had last year was about $7,000, $7,300. That's not a great amount, and with the way that we are paying staff, we're not Sunday hours is not included in that, in addition to substitute hours. That amount is about $5,700 a month. With not paying that also, there is a little bit less in the OPERS that we'll pay, so that's about $800. Additionally, with the libraries not being open, there's going to be a reduction in the usage of the utilities, gasoline for the vehicles, items like that, a little less supplies. So I think through this period of time that we're closed, I think it'll be just a wash as far as what we're not collecting in the other revenue. But because of the way that the general revenue fund is going to be possibly affected by these closures throughout the state, there's been some talk on my listserv that there could be maybe up to a 20%, if not more, reduction in PLF. I sent you the OLC report regarding the PLF. The one that we get deposited this month will be March revenues, so that won't be as much of a hit because most of the stay-at-home, I think, came in maybe 3 weeks into March. So, but when we'll see it is probably in May. The other part of that too is because they extended the people submitting their tax returns, and that's the part of the receipts that come in is the personal income, the income taxes that people have to pay in. So that's delayed now till July, I believe it is. But so because of this, and because we don't know how long this is lasting, this might turn around within a couple months. But I also provided you on the spreadsheet called the revenue reduction, just what it would look like if we had about a 20% reduction in the PLF. And so the difference is about, sorry, I had it written down here. It's about $415,000. But if you look on the last tab, because we have our property tax monies, the difference is, I think it's workable for this year. I think if something, depending on how things happen for, into next year is where we need to make more changes. But for right now, it doesn't look horrible for us. So one other note I wanted to say, if you look through what I included was where the our general revenue fund sources are. One of the sources are alcohol beverage income, and I heard last month that it was up 23.7%, the sales of alcohol, so maybe that'll help us a little bit. A little light note. Does anybody have any questions on anything else?
This morning they said it was up 55%, so that should be even better.
Oh, that'll sustain us for a little bit, huh?
I have my 2 now adult daughters staying at our house, and I think we now account for 25% of the increase in the alcohol consumption in Cuyahoga County, at least. So,
I'm actually surprised.
Anybody have any other questions? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they're saying it's only going to be 20% of a hit to the PLF.
That's just
over at least several
right
months.
Now.
It's going to be a pretty drastic dip in the state revenues. which is then going to obviously filter down through. I mean, the big issue, and this is, I've seen economists argue both ways, whether it's going to be a pretty sharp upkick when everything comes back online, or if it's going to be a drawn out recovery. And I mean, that's, if you can figure out the answer to that, you can be rich, but.
Right.
So, yeah,
as usual,
I
we'll
think we
just
should
watch
probably
everything.
look at bracketing. I mean, maybe 20% at the low end and maybe 40% at the high end. I mean, I think it's going to be pretty sizable.
Right. I mean, the other part that comes into the general revenue fund also is transfers from the budget stabilization fund. And I know that's a pretty rich fund. I've heard Governor DeWine mention that people have asked him about that. So we'll see if he decides to transfer money from that to assist in the states for the revenues.
Right.
We don't know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Anyone?
I'm good.
Okay, then let's move on to the resolution extending public closure through May 1st, 2020, and compensation of staff for authorized hours through May 1st as well.
I'll move passage.
I'll
I
second.
second.
Okay, hearing no further discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Buteri is absent. Sorry. Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mr. Monan,
Yes.
Mrs. Petruccio,
Yes.
Mrs. Polachek,
Yes.
Mrs. Roach, yes. Mrs. Rosium.
Yes.
Tricia, who did you get for the second? Because I heard two voices.
I put Sue down.
Okay, thank you.
Sue was in there first.
Okay.
Okay, with that, old business.
Are we still meeting on the 20th?
Yes, I mean, we are still planning to hold a regular board meeting. It will likely, given the continuing order, be via a Zoom. So we will get you, I don't know that we'll have a lot of new information or a lot of new news at that point, but I feel like we should stick to the regularly scheduled board meetings.
Right. Okay, new business. Okay. Then with that, I think we can move to adjournment.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
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 Twice in 1 month I'll get to do this. I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who first?
Diane, of
Petruccio.
course.
Diane? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right,
Official time,
we
Nick?
are adjourned at 2:34.